Want to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons. Thank you so much for continuing to support my channel. And I am done. Okay, so I just finished listening to Dead Man's Walk. This is the third book in the Lonesome Dove series by Larry McMurtry, and I want to give you my unedited thoughts upon finishing the book. So I have very mixed feelings about this book. Ultimately, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. But again, very mixed feelings. So before I go into those feelings, I want to give you a little bit of a heads up about what this book is. This is a historical fiction. This is part of Matt's historical fiction reviews instead of Matt's fantasy reviews. And you know, I read Lonesome Dove at the recommendation of multiple people that I really respect as authors. One of which is Stephen King, who said it was his favorite book of all time. And one of them is Brian Lee Durfee, who I think has said the same. Now, I'm not the biggest Stephen King fan. I've only read one of his books, but he's very well known as one of the greatest authors of all time. And when I have multiple high-level authors telling me the same thing for a type of book that is not the one that they kind of write, I'm gonna read it. And so Lonesome Dove, and I'll put a review up above here, is my second favorite book that I've ever read in my life. The first being The Crippled God from Malazan, and this is just incredible. And it's so incredible because it's a Western, and I don't read Westerns very often, but it just worked so well, and it's incredible, and everybody needs to go read that book. And so, but everyone knows that book, but very few people, at least that I've run into, are familiar with the 3 other books that are in this series. Now, the first book in that series that I read, and I didn't actually put out a review for it. I was rather sick when I finished it. I just didn't get around to it. I did recap it in my December monthly recap, and I said it was good, not great. It was a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it, but it was hard to not compare it to Lonesome Dove, which I loved. And it was a sequel book. And I've kind of been on record with saying a lot of times that amazing books or movies or TV shows, you know, you can beat a dead horse here. And I felt like that was the case there. You know, the story ended. I didn't need to keep going here. But this book was a prequel. And the final book in this quartet of books, I believe, takes place after the one that I just read. It's a prequel, but after a sequel to the one I just read, if that makes sense. Hopefully it did. And I liked it more than the other one in most parts. So this book is essentially a book in 2 parts. One of them is these Texas Rangers forming up. The 2 main characters, which are the 2 main characters from the original book, meet each other in this book, and they decide to become Texas Rangers, which apparently was very easy back in the 1800s. And they get drafted up to go on an adventure to hunt Indians. And specifically, there is one Indian that they're really, really trying to get. And I'd say that's like the first third of the book, and that is incredible. It was every bit as good as the greatest parts of Lonesome Dove. And I'm reading this thinking, oh my God, I don't know why more people aren't, you know, tuned into this, but this is going to end up being better than Lonesome Dove. But then the second half of this book really happens. And I'd say, you know, even though that was like the first third, there's this setup that happens for the next major sequence in this, which is essentially a conflict against the Mexicans. And once the conflict really reaches a head, everything starts going downhill. I didn't love the conflict itself. It became almost a little boring, which I don't, you know, which is saying something, because Lonesome Dove isn't a high-octane book. And this was very, very dull. And I didn't love the plot. And I can't really say much, but it's a very dire book. And so was Lonesome Dove. But this one is, you know, the height of dire. And I don't mind that. I like dark books. I read dark fantasy, you know, not exclusively, but when I get a dark fantasy book, I'm typically going to like it more than like a brighter, happier fantasy book. Like a lot more. But this took it to new levels. And it wasn't like squeamish, it just wasn't interesting to me. And then the very end of this book got very strange. Like, I just don't love at all the way that this ended. And like the whole sequence leading up to the ending, I thought just kind of sucked. And like, what? It's very like suspending belief here. It's like, this is bizarre, not what I've come to expect from Larry McMurtry as an author, and a huge, huge letdown. So I'm ending this book with these very conflicted feelings because I loved the first, third to half of this book so much, and I disliked the second half so much. Now, you'd think that, these would even out to like a 3, but no, I'd say the second half, is maybe like a 3, like a low tier 3. It was whatever. And the first was like a high tier 5. So this is ending up as a 4. And, maybe it was like a 2, but I'm gonna stick with a 4 here. But it's leaving me hopeful for the final book in this, because if the final book can recapture that energy that existed in this book and just doesn't go down these weird paths, then I am going to be obsessed with it. But if it goes down these weird paths again, or God forbid, it kind of exclusively goes down that path, then I'm going to be very disappointed. So, would I recommend this book to people? Yeah, I would, but read Lonesome Dove first, and just know what you're getting into. I would say that don't put this at the top of your TBR pile, that's for sure. But it's really good writing and a very engaging plot. I love the characters. The characters are top tier 5 out of 5. The new characters that get implemented here, in addition to Gus and Call, are wonderful. I love them, and I'm attached to them, and I hope that they exist in this next book, because at least the ones that survive, I don't think I'm ruining anything there. A lot of people die in this series, and which is very realistic, because this is an anti-Western, and what I mean by anti-Western is like, when you think of like a Western, you're thinking of like John Wayne and Clint Eastwood, these heroes, and they're going to save the day, and they're going to kill the bad guys. Well, that's not real life, is it? In real life, things are a lot more complicated than that. And in real life Texas, there's no glorification here of what it was like in the mid to late 1800s. I think it's like mid 1800s here in Texas. It's hot. There's no air conditioning. Animals will kill you. You got to be careful where you step, because a rattlesnake might bite you and end you. You're always kind of on the lookout for Indians. I say Indians, I know that's insensitive, but that's what they're called in this book. And they're on the Mexican border. The Mexicans will kill you. There's not a lot of like positive things here. The simplest disease will kill you. People die left and right, and it looks like a miserable existence. And I find that refreshing in one sense, but it worked better in Lonesome Dove, I find, because all these positives outweighed all the negative there, and it really fleshed out this really wonderful story. So ultimately, liked it, didn't love it. Read it if you love Lonesome Dove. If you didn't love Lonesome Dove, you're going to hate this. And certainly don't read this first. So I'm going to wrap it up there. This is a very short review, but I don't really have a lot more to say, and I don't really want to talk just for the sake of talking. I know videos do so much better when they're 10 minutes or over. I'm not going to get to 10 minutes, but whatever. I don't care. So, as always, thanks so much for watching my reviews, and as always, happy reading to you. Thanks again to my patrons, with a special shout out to my Ascendant tier patrons, Sky, Russell, Ron Reich, Romeo Mike, and CJ.